Yo, what's up guys, it's Teen to the new review on the P-51 by Puretrack. It's their new mousepad that recently came out about a month or two ago, and it focuses on a control aspect, but I'll get into why I think that's slightly misleading, and I believe it's more to the balance side of control. But once again, this is their new lineup of mousepads that inspired by the original CL1, but apparently it's 10% faster than the original. So let's get right into the review on this awesome pad. So this mousepad comes in at 490 by 420 and 3.5 millimeters thick. It uses an alpha cell base, which is a PU type of formulation to create this type of sticky base. This one is the new improved version in comparison to the older alpha cell base that Pulsar uses, but I'll get into the disadvantages and the advantages of both. The colors come in blue, black, and orange, and the box came shipped flat, which ensures that your mousepad is going to lay flat out of the box. So for $40, you're getting a great pad, great size, and you're getting insanely good stitching. This stitching is below the surface, very small, very comparable to like the Saturn and the Venus Pro and Artisan series. So this is top line stitching, so that's a great price point for the quality you're getting straight out of the box. And you also get wonderful colors, you get blue, orange, and black, like I said again, so it can fit quite a bit of setups with that. I decided on the blue because I just love how pretty this blue is. It's more of like a light blue cyan, almost darker cyan color, and it's just fantastic in my setup. So let's get into the base because I'm just so interested in bases, and I actually had this base for almost 2 years or a year and a half from sampling, and it has went through so many revisions. It's quite insane. So the original alpha cell base was completely smooth, no texture on the back. It was very sticky, very inconsistent, and insanely slow rebounding. So throughout the years or year, they have improved the base. I'm talking about the manufacturer quite a bit. So this is the third revision, or even fourth known to man. The first revision was the smooth surface, like I just previously talked. The second was the one that Pulsar used, which was 3 millimeters, and you could get in 4 millimeters, but they decided to go with 3 millimeters. It was extra soft and still a bit slow rebounding, and it stuck to the desk very well. And this is the third revision, and this revision has a slightly different texture in comparison to the Pulsar one. It's not as sticky, but still sticks to the desk fantastically, and it's actually, in my opinion, better that it's not as sticky because you can remove it from your desk easier. And so it's slightly firmer as well, so you're not going to get as soft as a foam density with the previous revision, so some may prefer that. And this is 3.5 millimeters, so it's slightly thick comparison to the Pulsar one. And they told me they did this to prevent surface bubbling, but one of the issues I've got with this pad is surface bubbling. I got 2 bubbles on the surface, one here, then one here, I believe. So yeah, apparently they did that change to prevent this issue, but this issue is still happening. But once again, if you have this issue, I bet they'll replace your pad, no problem. And just to confirm, it's not because the mousepad isn't laid flat or the bubbles aren't squished out all the way. It's literally just surface bubbling. And also there's actually a 4th revision of the alpha cell pad, and we'll see eventually who decides to use that revision, but hopefully it's improved on all the past issues of this base. So in comparison to like the Saturn Pro or any other Poron based bases, I do prefer the Poron aspect instead of this PU alternative, because it's just overall the quality is better and more consistent, especially in the foam density and how it rebounds. I like the faster rebound of Poron in comparison to this, which is slightly lower. But once again, I will say it's improved in comparison to the past revisions. Talking about the rebound itself, it's slightly faster in comparison to the last revision, which was a slower rebound. So now let's get into comparisons and the surface. So right out of the bat, the surface is towards control, but more on the balance side. So I would say the Saturn is a control pad. It's slower than most, but it's very consistent with no slow spots over time. While this is quite a bit faster. I will say it's faster than the Zero, the Saturn Pro, and it's very close in speed with the Rouge and the Po Ying, but yet it's still slower than the Raiden. So it's a very balanced pad while kind of lingering over the control side. It's not going to be faster than your balanced or faster hybrid pads, but on the smooth pad type of scale, it's similar to control, but yet near balanced. But one thing that changes this pad and makes it unique is the skin friction. I would like to say the amount of friction that is on the skin and the pad. So this is a lower friction across your skin, so you can actually move your mouse quite a bit faster if you're an ARM player because of this. So even though it's a control balance pad, you kind of make it feel faster if you're an ARM player because you can really swipe your arm across the mouse pad. So in comparison to other pads like the Po-Ying is slightly lower in friction across your skin, but something like the Zero, which is slightly rougher, or the Rouge, which they're considered still smooth pads, but in comparison to this pad, it's not nearly as smooth and you have more friction across the skin, which makes them feel slower in some cases, but itself, I would say the Rouge is slightly faster than this pad, if not very similar. But once again, the skin friction plays a major factor in this. In some cases, this may seem faster based solely on that. So if I had to rank these in speed and what it's so close to, the Raiden is obviously faster than this, so it goes like Raiden, then it starts going to more of the balanced type of pads like the Rouge, the Po-Ying, then this pad. Those three pads I just listed are very similar to this, and it's really just a difference in the skin friction, the initial friction, and the dynamic friction is very similar, all three of those. But I will say the Po-Ying's maybe slightly faster. The Rouge itself, maybe a lower initial friction, but since it's slightly rougher on the skin, very slightly, it kind of has a higher dynamic in comparison to this. But those three pads are very similar. But let's get back into the control. So like the Zero and the Saturn Pro, I will say are slower than this. So the Zero is slower than this one, and the Zero is slightly faster than the Saturn. So the Saturn is overall slower than this pad. But this is where I kind of want to go, and the biggest comparison is the Saturn. So even though the Saturn is slower, it kind of has the same natural feeling when you're using the pad. The Saturn is a bit more consistent and it's a bit softer to touch, while this pad has more of a plastic-ish feeling, if that makes sense. It seems like they did some type of heat treatment. So there's a heat treatment done to the surface, which alters the feeling of the surface. So it works great on some pads like hybrid surfaces, but smoother pads, I kind of recommend against it. But I think they did a great job in the surface alone. But yeah, it gives a unique feel. It doesn't really feel like a traditional cloth mouse pad like the Saturn is. So if you kind of give a Saturn Pro a heat treatment of this sort, this is kind of what the pad would turn out to be in my eyes. So that's where I kind of give a comparison between the Saturn Pro and this mouse pad. But I will say, since I main the Saturn Pro, I do prefer it more over the P-51 just because it's more consistent in my eyes with the surface. I feel like that's a true control pad, and this kind of lingers between balance and control, kind of just throws my brain off. So I am a lot more consistent on the Saturn, but if you're looking for something faster than the Saturn but very similar, I would pick this up. But once again, just notice the textures are going to be slightly different in feeling. So if you're looking for a cheaper side of pads, $40 range for a high quality pad, this pad's quality is insane. For a cheap price point, I would 100% recommend it. Once again, there's some issues with the surface bubbling, which might just be my unit, and also staining. This few days of use already stained on this colorway, so maybe pick up a black if you're worried about that. But once again, if I had to choose between a Saturn Pro and this, I would choose the Saturn Pro, but this is a great option for enthusiasts and newcomers to the enthusiast space. So if you're looking at a great mouse pad, go look up Puretrack. It's still available in those three colorways. And thanks guys for watching my review, and peace out.